Hey everyone, Cole with GZ and Joel, and we are going to go over the different components of the Grand Marlin D flap teasers or Donato flaps. So as you can see here at the bottom, we have the XL version, which comes in a blunt face and a hard cut version. And then there you have the medium size version with the blunt face. And so they use slightly different components, particularly with the zinc anodes here that are weighted. So what we're gonna do is go over how we build it. When these ship out, the anodes are already attached. We want to show you how we're putting that together though, and why we selected the components we did, and go from there. So before we get started, when we first tested these out with Chris, when Chris was first testing them out, we did not use zincs at first. And so what we found is they pretty much worked mostly ideal in calm waters. So you can use them without zincs in calm waters, and they even work even better behind a squid chain. But then once it got a little bit choppy, Coda waters are in particular really calm most days. When they got a little bit choppy, they tend to not function as well. Didn't swim like you'd want to, rolled over a little bit. And so we started using these zincs to get a little bit of added weight as we started doing some tweaks. And so this is actually helps. So they work a little bit better in your more moderate conditions now. And then we came out with the blunt nose, so that works a little bit better than the hard cut. The hard cut is a little bit more for calm water. So now we're going to get into the components and how we built it, and kind of a little bit of the why we did what we did. So I'm going to have Joel start with he's going to work on the medium size, but the medium and the large, they're all built the same way. There's just some minor differences between the two. So go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so first off, working with the mediums. The mediums are going to use a smaller anode. For the smaller anode, the components that we're going to be using, you're going to be using 2 fender washers. We'll be using 2 binding nuts with a 3mm Allen on the end of it, and then also a 3mm button head with 10mm length on your shaft. You're going to have 2 lock washers and 2 flat washers that go with. With your kit, it does come with 2 3mm Allens to tighten down the components. The only tool that is not included is going to be a 13/16 wrench or Allen wrench for you to tighten down your head bolt. And I'll show you how to attach all this. First off, before I go any further, I want to show you that the only difference that you're going to have with the large versus the medium flap is your button heads. They're actually 12mm long versus a 10mm long. Everything else is identical, same pattern, same way to hook everything up. So first off, with the medium, you have your anode, and you're gonna get your lock nut. Get them both set up, slide them on the back side. Attach them through, and then we can lay it down and attach the anode. So once everything is lined up, your anode is automatically placed right over, sets right into position. Go ahead and grab your 2 button heads. First put on your spring lock washer, then you're going to put on your flat washer. Once those are on there together, just drop it into place and it will automatically seat down in. Grab 1 3mm. You're going to just tighten it down. Make sure you're not putting too much pressure so you don't cross thread the bolt whenever installing it. Go ahead and just run it down till it's finger tight, and then go ahead and start knocking out your second one. So same thing, button head, go ahead, grab your lock washer and then your flat washer. Drop it straight down in, run it down till it is just finger tight. Sink it all the way down. Once you're done with that one, get your second 3mm. You're going to hook it to the back side to the head. Run this one down till it is snug. Once it is snug, do a half turn on it. That right there, you're not putting too much pressure where you're going to end up messing up the nut on the back side, but it gives you a very secure lockdown. Same thing, I'm going to do that on the bottom one. I'm going to run this down till it hits, then I'll run it down 1 half turn. So that right there, it's tight. 1 half turn. fully seated. Once that's on there, you can see your flat washers, your anode is a very tight seat. Next, you're going to attach your head. Make sure anode is facing up and your head bolt is going to go straight down. Make sure that it's fully seated in. Once it's fully seated in, you're going to get your 3/16 wrench. Run this all the way down. Make sure whenever you're running this down, you do not put too much pressure. You will end up cracking the acrylic and busting out the backside. So make sure whenever you're putting it on, run it down till it's snug and you're done.
All right, and so when we were doing our zincs, one thing we wanted to make sure, well, first we rubber coated these, you can tell. We do this in-house. So we're gonna be offering these zincs where you can purchase them separately, because obviously you guys might want to use them on different teasers or different situations too, or you might just want to buy them separately just for your mud flaps. These specific, they're called the D flaps or the denial flaps. They are now available separately as well, so you can purchase these. If you're buying the teaser, you rip one of these little flaps, then you can go ahead and buy just a separate one or a spare one or two. And they will come, there's availability to buy them with or without these rubber coated anodes. But then, like I said too, you can buy these separately as well, the anodes. But one thing we did when we installed these, we put them just to make sure that when this head, when the flap's going around, that doesn't bang up against that. So we won't try not to damage the head. So that's why we placed them where we did. We wanted as close to the head as possible, because that's where it's going to help with the swim action of that head. Otherwise, if you put on the belly more, it tends to overcompensate for the weight of the head. So other than that, I think that pretty much covers it. And like we said, the XL version, they're constructed the same way. So you can basically take these same instructions and apply it to the XL size. One thing that we are testing is if you like that large version of the head size, but obviously this is a 46-inch flap, it's giant. So we're gonna work on trying to just make sure that this medium-sized flap will work inside that large head. But we're doing a little bit of testing on this, 'cause that's not something we've tested out. But this small one does fit inside the large head. So we're gonna get back to you on that. So it will have not quite the same massive profile as the big 46-inch, if that scares you. But what we've learned, and what Chris would tell you, is Marlin eat big fish. They eat big tunas, so don't be afraid to pull this big thing if you're trying to raise big fish. Another fear that some guys have had is whether or not their teaser reels can handle it. There is a lot of surface area on these heads, so you are going to get a lot of resistance there. But when Chris is using his teaser reels, they have not had any issues with pulling them out. So but we're going to get some more. We're going to do a separate video on that specifically. Chris will talk about that. So all right, thanks everyone, hope that helps, and just let us know if you have any questions on anything.